Welcome in, Patriots Today by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here as we look back at last night's game between your New England Patriots and the Houston Texans with the winners and losers from the first preseason game of 2023. The Texans got the better end of this contest with a 20-9 win. Bailey Zappe was very solid, 12 of 14 through the air for 79 yards. Malik Cunningham also got some playing time and was effective on the ground. 5 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown. Tyquan Thornton with 2 catches for 31 yards. Meanwhile, the Texans in the thing. Davis Mills got the majority of snaps at the quarterback position for Houston. C.J. Stroud got the start, did not play too great. Mills, though, went 9 of 12 for 99 yards and a touchdown. Tank Dell, one of the stars of the show for Houston, with 5 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown score. So let's go over the winners for New England, starting with Keion White, the edge rusher who the Patriots picked in the second round of the draft. And I got to tell you, watching Keion White, this guy was just all over the field. As far as I'm concerned, the way that he was so effective was just getting from one place to another. You could not miss him. I was very impressed with Keion White. And I know that you're looking at him being a potential rotational piece for 2023. I think he made a case last night that we could be talking about him maybe even as a starter at some point this season. With as well as he played, I expect more from Keion White, some good things to come from him going forward. Also on the winners list, we point to Jalen Mills at the defensive back spot at safety. Jalen Mills, also very good, was kind of flying all over the place, had a very good night in his own right as well. And I know that the Patriots gave up a lot to the Texans receiving corps, in particular Tank Dell, but Jalen Mills was one of the few bright spots of sorts when it comes to that secondary. He was very good, had a good night in his own right. More names to get to in just a second, but first, your chance to weigh in here on Patriots Today. Who was your biggest winner versus the Texans? Tell us in the comment section. It's our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in and tell us who you believe your biggest winner was for last night's game against Houston. Next on the list is Tyquan Thornton. And I got to tell you, Tyquan Thornton needed this game because what we have heard so far throughout training camp was that he's been kind of missing in action of some sorts, that he hasn't been able to get involved as much as the Patriots would like, as he's had multiple days where he didn't even have a single reception. Last night, though, was a different story. We saw Tyquan Thornton look like the best receiver on this Patriots team last night. Granted, they didn't play the starters, but of those guys that were on the field, Tyquan Thornton really stood out and made his presence known. Tyquan Thornton needs more nights like we saw last night because the hope is that Tyquan Thornton could compete to be one of the starting receivers, top 1 or 2 receivers for this Patriots team, and he hadn't showed it up until this point. Last night was the first night that we finally saw the potential of what Tyquan Thornton is capable of. Next on the winners list is Bailey Zappe. Now, I know what you may be thinking. Now, Bailey Zappe, sure, the offense may have not been moving as much as you would have liked when it came to finishing drives, but the numbers for Bailey Zappe were very solid, 12 of 14, 79 yards. And what doesn't tell the full story as far as the score compared to the performance is that Bailey Zappe was under just awful pressure all night long, that he did not have a whole lot of time to get the football off and was just put in some bad situations as far as I'm concerned. And so for him to still deliver, I know the points may not have been there, but that doesn't tell the whole story of what Bailey Zappe was able to do. He made some big-time throws, had some nice conversions on third down from time to time. Bailey Zappe looks solid as far as I'm concerned. Look, I'll say this much. Is this a quarterback competition? No, it's not. This is Mac Jones' job. Everybody knows it. Mac Jones is going to be starting week 1 unless there's an injury of some sort. But Bailey Zappe has shown enough that you can be fully confident in him being that number 2 quarterback, and that's just fine as far as I'm concerned. Bailey Zappe is good enough to get the job done, be that number 2 quarterback. I know there's been rumblings like, do you keep one and trade the other? Should you move on from Bailey Zappe? No. Write it out. If something happens to Mac, then give Bailey that opportunity. But to me, I think it should be pretty well settled. Mac's your number 1 guy. Bailey's a solid number 2. Finally, on the list of winners, we find Daniel Ekuale in this position, the defensive tackle who previously played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had a very good night with 2 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 sack. Getting some good pressure, was very effective up front for this Patriots team. I like what I saw from Daniel, and I think there's more good things to come from him. We know that this Patriots defense is the bread and butter. It's going to be what makes the difference for this New England team in 2023, and he made a case of why he deserves some more playing time to be a part of that rotation. I think you're going to see more from him. So good night from those guys overall. We'll get to the losers here in just a second, but first, folks, we were live on the channel for the first half last night, did a watch party, and we had a great time as we brought in some new Patriot fans and certainly just enjoyed ourselves on the channel. And if you missed out on that, that's okay, because we got more watch parties coming up, including next week as well, right here on Patriots Today. Subscribe now for free. Daily news and rumors. We'll do our watch parties throughout the season as well, and we're covering breaking news on the channel. Anytime something happens, we're going to be the first to talk about it here on Patriots Today. So if you love your New England Patriots, you need to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. YouTube.com/Patriots Today to subscribe for free. On the losers list, we turn our attention to Pierre Strong Jr. And when you look at where the Patriots are at, we know that Ramondre Stevenson is going to be leading the way as the top running back for New England. But then the number 2 running back position, Pierre Strong had a chance to say, look, I can be trusted. You don't need to bring in a guy like Ezekiel Elliott or Dalvin Cook or Kareem Hunt or one of these veterans, because that's been the ongoing discussion for several weeks now, ever since James Robinson got let go of, okay, do you go sign a veteran running back to be that number 2? And there was a case to be made that, hey, you may not need to bring that veteran because Pierre Strong or some of these other guys could be trusted to step up. And granted, I'll say this, the offensive line did not do Pierre Strong any favors, but Pierre Strong did not look that great, if we're going to be real with y'all. 6 carries, 21 yards, 3 catches for 12 yards. I was not that impressed with Pierre Strong. But you have to factor in that offensive line factor as well. So with that said, not a great night for Pierre Strong in that run game as far as I'm concerned. How would you grade the Patriots' play against Houston? What do you think? It wasn't a pretty night, we'll put it that way. There were some things to some things to feel optimistic about, but others not so much. Grade the performance for the Patriots. I'd give it a D, if we're going to be frank with y'all. Give me a grade for this performance. A, B, C, D, or F. Let us know in the comment section below. Also on the losers list, the offensive line. We mentioned Pierre Strong struggling to run the football, and this run game just not really getting established. Bailey Zappe played solid despite not having time to throw the football. And an ongoing theme throughout this offseason has been the struggles of this offensive line, that they are not doing what they need to do. They allowed 3 sacks last night. I mean, it was a poor night from this offensive line, and I got to say, I'm very concerned. Granted, we'll see what the starters bring to the table, but from what we've seen in camp, I'm not optimistic about that either. So that's going to be an ongoing problem as far as that goes. Last on the losers list, everyone covering Tank Dell. This guy was incredible. The Texans drafted him out of the University of Houston. He was a star at Houston, had 18 touchdowns at Houston last year. He was incredible. And this guy was just uncoverable. He found ways to get open throughout the night. We mentioned Jalen Mills was on our winners list, but that was one of the only bright spots. Everybody else, nobody could cover this guy, and it was a problem throughout the evening. And now things should get better when we talk about the starters and all that. The secondary for New England is supposed to be pretty good, but Nate Dell was just a problem. Just as a football fan, I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to the table going forward. Folks, subscribe to the channel as we're talking about your New England Patriots each and every day. Stay tuned throughout the weekend. We'll have more on this performance against the Texans and what to expect going forward for this New England Patriots team. Also back next week with another watch party. You will not want to miss out on that. We will see you next time. Thanks for joining us here on this Friday post-game edition of Patriots Today by Chat Sports. We'll be back next time with more Patriots coverage. Keep it tuned right here. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us.